His last payment as of this screenshot was $14,230 in 1 month for having built his revenue share downline. This is something consistent, and right now what we need as a marketplace, as professionals, is consistency even over intensity. Do we not have a different conversation going on here? Like, it's completely different. It's like, hey, congrats on your closing, that's awesome, and where's your next ones? What does your pipeline look like? How are you, converting your deals? I recently made the move from another brokerage to EXP, from KW to EXP. And so this is just my 2-minute kind of like why did I do that? And I'm looking at the two guys that aren't with EXP right now, mostly. Thank you everyone else for hanging out. But after 10 years in this industry, I knew that my passion for real estate was still just as strong today as it was 10 years ago. And I think that's what you hope for in a profession, right? Like, you hope that you find a profession that you just like freaking love, and that, you really can like become the best at, and that you're known for it, right? And so that's what real estate was for me. And I started thinking about 5 years ago, what is the future of real estate, right? Even 5 years ago, right? There was a lot of changes in the industry. There's changes in the industry now. I consider myself a little bit of like an industry geek, right? Like, I really like to study like brokerage models and team models and how the economics work. Because we're talking today about sales, right? Like, how do I go get my next deal? How do I go make this next thing happen? I hope that each and every single one of you, the way Jessica talks to you is that you're a high level producer who's selling, high volume. And at some point, looking for the next deal is going to just be like a natural thing that's happening, and you're going to be planning more for like long-term future, right? And I hope that you already are. If I could give one piece of advice before I share a little bit about why I love RevShare and EXP, is that go ahead and start taking a little bit of your net income, like each time you get a commission check. Just choose a percentage, right? Choose a percentage that you're going to put into an investment fund for yourself, whether it's a real estate investment fund or a retirement fund. That's the one thing I didn't do early on that I wish I would have done. That's just compound. Has anyone read The Compound Effect? Or familiar with the compound effect in any kind of economic model? So one of the reasons I did a bunch of research and chose to come over to EXP was because of the opportunity to help myself and agents build more long-term residual income for themselves while also playing the game of real estate sales, right? Like, that's why we're all here, is we love the game of real estate sales, but what about the game of passive residual income long-term? And how do you get in what I'm calling your brokerage working for you instead of you working for your brokerage, right? Like, every broker out there tells you that you need a broker. And technically you do until you don't, right? But at some point, they actually need you. They need you selling houses. They need you making income so that they can make their little portion of your sales. They're nothing without you, right? Out there selling. And so at EXP, you can and will, but you will become someone who is an owner of the company while actively playing the game of real estate sales. So if you want to follow me anywhere there, you can. Simplicity scales and complexity fails. You know how to sell real estate. You wouldn't be in this room if you weren't sharpening that skill set. So keep leaning into generating leads, finding your system to close those deals. And then make sure that you're with a company that is actually going to be giving back to you, not just in the form of trainings and environment and culture, but actually in the form of dollars. Dollars! Yeah. So EXP is the fastest growing real estate company of all time, and that's saying a lot, right? Like, moving from more of a traditional brokerage that had been around for a long time to a cloud-based model is a different kind of thing, but you can see why post-2020 things are speeding up when it comes to cloud-based, right? We can create culture and environment and support each other and do script practice in the mornings and do all the things we need to do without having to drive to a certain location every day, right? How helpful is it for those of you who are with Elite Builders to hop on a Zoom at 7:30 in the morning and practice scripts? Yeah, that's cool, right? It's helpful. And with our Elite Builders, Jessica also hosts prospecting hours every morning, right? Because she's making her calls. She says, hop on here, make calls alongside me as a top listing agent. You can learn some things. You can get some stuff done. You're not wasting. To me, the EXP model and what we're doing at Elite Builders is we're taking the waste out of it, right? It's like a lot of wasted energy to try to get other types of interactions going when you could just hop on a Zoom room and get it done. So as you guys know, most realtors this is their reality. And over the past 5 years, I've recruited a lot of agents, a lot of new agents, some producing agents, but I've talked to and coached over 400 agents over the last 4 years. That's a lot of one-on-one conversations. And if you've gotten to chat with me, you know I care. Like, I want to know, like, what your goals are, what you're up to. 400 agents, I couldn't keep track of all of them. So I would hold classes, right, and kind of try to get everyone, like, in the same room. But the truth is that most realtors aren't planning any kind of financial freedom future. They're looking for their next $12,000 paycheck or their next $6,000 paycheck or $30,000, whatever it is, and then they kind of like cheer and hang out until they start getting really hungry again, and then they get back to it, right? Do we not have a different conversation going on here? Like, it's completely different. It's like, hey, congrats on your closing. That's awesome. And where's your next ones? What does your pipeline look like? How are you, converting your deals? Most realtors are on a transaction treadmill. The agent who brought me to KW originally and into real estate originally, she had been recruited by a lady named Jeannie Riley, and Jeannie Riley, rest in peace, was in her late 70s, early 80s, still selling real estate when I got into the business. And she had to, by the way, in order to, like, literally to live. She had her son, thankfully. Like, her son was there kind of helping go do, like, hard things, like put signs in yards and, go out in the heat of the summer and show houses. But Jeannie had to keep producing income for herself through transactions. And I believe that as much as we all love real estate and love houses and helping clients, I don't think any of us want to be in our late 70s, early 80s having to go out in the heat of the summer and show a house or write an offer or something like that, right? So my desire is that I'm helping agents create quality of life while having the financial freedom they want. And that takes having a model that works, right? Like, the model itself that you're in needs to support these things so that you don't have to be on a transaction treadmill. And of course, a lot of realtors aren't being coached. And when you're here, it's impossible to not get coached if you lean in and are a part. I will say, here's just a quick summary of kind of like what our cap is and what the model is. It is a 80-20 split. So there's a $16,000 cap and a $250 transaction fee afterward. There's some costs over there: $149 startup fee, $85 a month cloud brokerage fee. I came from a company that's double that. So like the double on the monthly, it's like double that. So I think it's a really, really, really good deal. Okay, but what about rev share? What is that? Is anyone in here not familiar with rev share? Are both of you pretty familiar with what rev share is and how it works? So think of it this way. So revenue share is the 20%, going back to this slide, right? You're going to keep 80%. You're going to pay in 20%. You're only paying in 20%, and it's just 20%. Like, it's not 20% plus something, or whatever. It's 20%. The 20% that you pay in up to the 16. So what revenue share, though, is out of that 20%, EXP chooses. They built the whole model when they first started the company back in the day. They built the whole model that 10 of that 20, tracking so far, 10 of the 20 is going to go back to agents. And it's going to go back to the agents who helped build the company. So that 10% of the 20 is not going to EXP unless EXP ends up in one of these tier lines, which is a whole other thing. But the incentive here is that if you're proud to be at the company, you invite other people to come to the company, you get to participate in that agent's 10% of the 20. Does that make sense? All right. I mean, it's honestly pretty simple. But the way that 10% gets broken up is through 7 tiers. So, like, I'll use Peter as an example. When Peter's in my level 1, in my tier 1, when Peter contributes his 20% to EXP is going to take 10% of that 20 and then start basically sharing it up the 7 tiers up above Peter. Me, Jessica, Aaron, and on and on. So you can see it actually starts like at 3.5, 3.8, and then it starts going up, then it goes down, and then it goes back up again. So the deeper your particular downline can grow, the more revenue share you're going to get. So I know Peter texted me the other day, like he already has someone in mind that he might be, inviting to a third-party call. And I share all of that because I feel like this is us working together as a team to help build each other's residual income as well, right? So like we get to help build each other's sales income through trainings and through sparring and script practice and things like that. We also get to play this other game economically. What other industry or career can you do this? Like very few, right? Like can you like make money here and make money there and do this and do that, right? This is a place for creative entrepreneurs who like selling, right? And so yeah, it's definitely the team effect of wanting to go deep with your profit or with your revenue share. So this is an old slide. This total over here on the left is 145, but now it's over 300. These are the number of agents that Aaron has in his revenue share downline, so to speak. And you can see that like his last payment, these are every month, by the way, his last payment as of this screenshot was $14,230 in 1 month for having built his revenue share downline. Kind of nice, right? Just an extra 15K. What would even an extra 5K do for you? You know? Like you're still selling, you're still doing your thing, and an extra 5K is sitting there in your bank account at the end of every month or at the beginning of every month. Maybe that's part of what you make your real estate investments with, right? Maybe that's what you do to take care of mom and dad. Maybe that's how you go back to that why that Jessica brought up in the very beginning, and you start putting some of that money toward your bigger long-term plans. The truth of the matter is that the way that you're going to grow your real estate business is by being in the right rooms, period, right? So it's not really about brand or brokerage name anyway. Right? So like being in the right room, and then where I'm at in my career that I hope I can impart to you early on in your career is that being in the right model will make a big difference for your future as well, right? And this is the right model. This is, all the research I've done, and I'm a high C type of person, like this is the right model for the future in terms of like you maximizing all the opportunities that are out there. When you do partner with Elite Builders, you get all of this. So Aaron hosts a group coaching call once a week on Wednesdays at noon. That's a really powerful hour. And we've got free role play group like script practice is what that is, right? 5 times a week, online classes and scripts, free mastermind groups. This is stuff, by the way, that coming from another company, you have to pay for, right? It's like, hey, we want $1,000 a month for you to have this kind of coaching, or you want to be in that fast track program, you got to pay, $8.99 for 8 weeks or whatever. I'm not saying that you may never take advantage of those kinds of things out in the industry, but this is something consistent, and right now what we need as a marketplace, as professionals, is consistency even over intensity. So like just showing up, doing the work every day, at some point it feels exciting, some days it feels boring. Like either way, it's just the consistency over the intensity, and that's what Aaron really, I feel like, valued, and it's one of the reasons I chose Aaron's group organization over other EXP organizations, was because I knew how committed he was to offering consistent value to all different production levels, week in, week out, month in, month out. And for those of you with us, you know that. And then Jessica, who is my sponsor into EXP, has built Texas Elite Builders, right? So Aaron is coast to coast. He's got agents all over. Everything we do is very national, which is really cool because you can exchange referrals, learn from other people, all of that. But here locally, that's important to know the market, right? To know the Texas market, the North Texas market. Jessica offers virtual office hours every day. Inside of our WhatsApp channel, she's like, hey, I'm in the virtual office if you need anything, right? Just as like reminding you that you have access to her as a mentor for you. We host a group coaching call every Tuesday at 10:30, and then there is some lead sharing. So we have agents within our organization that are only taking listings, and they're willing to share those buyer leads just like we talked about today. When you are a really good listing agent, you will attract buyer leads. And so in our organization, it's very common for listing agents to stay focused on getting more listings and then sharing out those buyer leads to other agents within the organization, maybe that are getting started and that kind of thing. Make sense? And by the way, those are going to be a lot of times more quality leads than if you were partnering with another brokerage that said we can get you leads, right? Yeah, because anyone can pay for a list. That's not what these kinds of leads are. These kinds of leads are actual calls on signs or calls on certain listings, right? So they're going to be a little bit more simple to convert. And then professionally produced social content. So I know I saw what Jessica was doing, and I had met Jessica before, but I saw what she was doing online. Did anyone else like see Jessica online before you joined Elite Builders? No? Am I the only one? Okay. Melissa. It's like I saw her online. I'm like, okay, I see her. And she's also staying consistent with it and like putting media out, right? So we value that, and we think it's important to support each other in that way. And so whatever kinds of things that we can do to help create, I mean, even today, we've got a videographer here, right? Like, it's one of the reasons this kind of a class is something that we charge for, so that we can have access to these types of more professionally produced contents. So if you haven't ever had a call with Jessica, I encourage you to do so. You can either come chat with her afterward or me. You can do one of the four things. Ask the person who invited you here to introduce you to Jessica, or you could just come say hey. You could discreetly reach out for a confidential consultation. You could request an application to get started today. That's a thing. Like, you could just move today. Or you could drag your feet and watch your friends succeed. So. All right. Thanks for listening to my EXP presentation. I enjoyed meeting all of you guys today, and thank you, Jessica, for such a good class.